I was craving that rush. That gut punch kick of ecstasy that hits you when things suddenly go your way.
Good news, that Scout dug your show. Good news, they're gonna play it on the radio. Good news, you've sold out a whole stadium.
Well into my mid-20s, I believed that a burst of joy was something you had to chase. The carrot that propelled you through life, always just out of reach. Once I hung around enough pricey green rooms, though, I realized that happy kick can be found in powdered form. Like shooting off fireworks from the pit of your stomach. A brilliant explosion in the sternum. Teeth gritting, muscle twitching, howling joy, happiness, straight from a mysterious little man who was a stranger not 20 minutes prior.
Good news, you are high.
When my agent sent me out here, she said it was to get me away from the press. The internet was filled with cell phone vids of my final glorious night. People had all sorts of questions. Answering them would just get me into deeper shit. Last thing I needed was more condemnations. Disappearing off the face of the earth would let people move on to the next star who made a ruckus somewhere public. My agent said I was going to the detox zone to keep a low profile. Nothing to do with the drugs. Not a day into my stay, my gut let me know she wasn't being honest with me. Hunkering down in an unknown rehab facility in middle of nowhere Central Asia would keep me out of news feeds. That was true. What didn't occur to me on the flight, however, was that you can't find buggies in the middle of the steppe. I've never considered myself an addict. I've grown up with them. I've been in relationships with them. Hell, I've done a lot of drugs with them. I've always considered myself far too composed and controlled to be a junkie. 2 days in my stay, I realized the only thing keeping me from being called an addict was the question of supply and time management. I was craving that rush. That rush of raw animalistic victory over the humdrum chemical realities of the brain. Pacing back and forth, digging fingers into palms, shadow boxing with the intensity of a life or death battle. I was jonesing bad. The detox zone had saunas and meditation rooms and massage parlors and sensory deprivation tanks. But all of those were downers. Those things were meant to calm me. I didn't need calming. I needed fuel. I needed rush. I needed something to plug that gaping hole at the core of my being. It's with that gulping emptiness in my abdomen that I enter the lobby on the third day. I stalk the lobby back and forth, trying to do mental gymnastics about the length of my stay. No matter how hard I try to miscount, my math always checks out. 2 months. No ties to the outside world. Once my reality becomes unavoidable, I let out a long labored sigh. The receptionist watches me, but he says nothing. When our eyes meet, he gives me a friendly service industry smile. We don't judge at the detox zone, his eyes read. The receptionist remains professional, but I've worked enough service jobs in my younger years to know he'll be bitching about me to his friends off the clock. I slow down. I take a deep breath. I'm busy myself with the landscape pictures on the wall. Is this a real place? I finally ask, pointing to the biggest frame on the wall. The stone on the picture is dark and ruffled and ancient. With my eyes strained with sleeplessness, I can't tell if I'm looking at a blown-up photograph or an artist's rendition.
This? Yes, sir. This is real place.
His eyes greet me as if I'd just manifested into the lobby instead of stomping around in it for 20 minutes.
It is real place. We call it, in translation, it would be Valley of powerful crab.
His manicured hand spreads out towards the glass walls of the lobby. Out beyond the flat, grassy steppe, there's a suggestion of mountains on the horizon.
Very beautiful place.
The receptionist says.
Very calming.
What's that? 10K away?
Yes, sir. About 10 kilometers. 2 hours away.
My feet are restless. Never been much of a hiker, but my feet are restless. Might go and check it out, I say. The receptionist's face shifts. A glint of discomfort flashes across his eyes.
Sir, you must not.
The man says, his voice dropping by a couple of decibels.
Journey to Valley of Powerful Crab is the bad idea.
Why not? His brow furrows. He thinks hard while trying to keep up a rehab lobby smile.
It is far.
He finally says. You said 10K, I reminded him.
Yes, but 10 kilometers through foreigner and steppe, it is different. Sometimes foreigner go missing.
He glances out of the window and then lowers his eyes.
Sun sharp in steppe. Dangerous. You should stay in facility. We have good massage. Free for you.
I look out of the window at the overcast morning. The mountains aren't particularly close, but the sun seems to be no trifle. I think I can manage, I say as I walk over to the exit. Thank you for the advice.
No!
The receptionist yells, his voice bouncing around the empty lobby. His polite smile drains when he hears the echo.
Sir, going to Valley is the bad idea,
he says, his voice lowering to a whisper.
I will do explaining, but I cannot explaining here.
He watches me, prodding me for trustworthiness. Then he looks around the lobby, assuring himself that there are no other customers. He grabs a piece of paper from behind the counter and carefully writes down a message. Back in 10 minutes. He walks out of the front door of the lobby and I follow him. As we walk through the grounds of the detox zone, the receptionist doesn't say a word. I don't ask any questions. I'm just happy to be in motion. We walk past the gates and out of the facility grounds. Near a cottage that seems significantly less modern than the sleek, new age design of the detox zone, the receptionist lights up a cigarette. He offers me one. I've never smoked a cigarette sober, but beggars can be choosers. The nicotine is like breadcrumbs to a starving man. The longing at the pit of my stomach isn't satiated, but there's the merest of suggestions that I'm moving in the right direction.
You cannot go to Valley of Powerful Crab. It is beautiful place, but it is place of the danger.
What's so dangerous about it? I ask, tasting the notes of cheap tobacco on the back of my tongue. Path to it seems empty enough. He looks off to the steppe and the mountains beyond. He nods.
Path is not dangerous,
he finally says.
Valley of Powerful Crab is not dangerous too. It is not valley that is the danger. It is what is near valley that is big problem.
And dare I ask what's near the valley? He takes another puff, formulating his words. Whatever English vocabulary the man picked up is lacking for what he's trying to express. The smoke comes out through clenched teeth as if he were trying to spook out something deep within his lungs.
Near the valley is the bad place. Place of big problem, of dark science, of evil magic. It is place we call the...
Every syllable of the name crushes through my eardrum like an artillery. The smoke around us grows still, as if the universe itself was trying to cover up our mouths. The what? I ask, once a gust of wind parts the smell of burnt tobacco and returns a hint of normalcy to the conversation. The receptionist doesn't repeat the words. He instead starts recommending the various other activities the detox zone offers. There's a yoga class happening every 3 hours, state-of-the-art gym, a pool, and 1,000 other things I could do instead. I smile and nod and smoke and tell him I appreciate the suggestions, but I know exactly where I'm going. Perhaps there have been too many people in my early life who have told me I couldn't do something. Perhaps it is simply the nature of stardom. Perhaps I have just been raised wrong. But I do not like being told no. I bum 2 more cigarettes from the receptionist, slip him a tip, and then go back to my room. The complimentary water thermos and chocolate raided from the mini fridge serve as my supplies for the expedition. I chow down on one of the Mars bars before I even leave Detox Zone property. As I walk towards the gates, I feel the gentlest bit of excitement wash through my lungs. The tide grows and grows until I reach the edge of the gravel pathway leading out. When I cross the threshold over onto untouched land, things for a moment start to feel familiar. I embrace for my neurochemistry to give me a hit, but it doesn't. As I walk across the steppe towards the Forbidden Valley, my internal life simmers back down towards craving. So, I run. I figure I won't feel sluggish if my heart rate picks up, so I run. I have treated my body like a Christmas chemistry set. Didn't expect to get too far. As I pick up the pace, however, I surprise myself. I realize I'm not that out of shape. For the first couple minutes of my jog, I feel good. That tenseness in my abdomen gets stretched out. My thoughts turn sharper and less sluggish, and I'm way too focused on my feet to think about the dread. But then, I get a shooting pain in my side. And then, my lungs start to ache, and then I stop. And eventually, as the misery sets back in, I light up one of the cigarettes I bumped from the receptionist. I'm too proud to turn back, and as I walk, that pride gnaws at me. The detox zone shrinks off on the horizon and storm clouds grow to the west of the mountains, but I keep going. When my internal monologue starts to question what I'm trying to achieve, I make more attempts at jogging towards the valley. Pushing myself to run takes some of the wind out of my racing thoughts, but whenever I inevitably slow down, my neuroses come back to bite me twofold. I drink water to make up for the sweat. When I eat another bar of chocolate to replenish my energy, the sting in my side turns into a stub. A sluggish thunderstrike rumbles across the steppe. There is lightning on the horizon. By the time it starts to drizzle, I can't see the detox zone anymore. By the time it starts pouring, the stitches in my abdomen become a suitable alternative to not get drenched. There's a couple of trees in front of the structure of stone, but I do my best to avoid the shelter. Only a moron would stand under a tree during a thunderstorm. I congratulate myself for finding an outcropping of rock to hide under. My self-esteem takes a dive when I remember what I am. My career is publicly imploding and I'm stuck on the other side of the globe hiding under a rock. Why? Because I want to prove something to myself. What was it that I was trying to improve to myself? That I can't quite verbalize. The lower I feel, the more my nose twitches, the more I realize how rugged I've worn my dopamine receptors. Failure scratches through my veins and stretches the crater at the center of my soul. So many people warned me. My family, my friends, the few women that I let see past my billet walls. They all warned me. They warned me and I didn't listen. I bury my head in my palms and I weep. I weep for my career and my decisions and my past on my future. Above me the storm rages. Past my sobs, thunder crashes across an unknown land, and torrents of water slip down untouched stone. My mind and soul are a deluge of bubbling chaos, yet beyond my wails and the storm, I hear something else. Behind me, pebbles shift. I do not rush to turn around. I feel far too sluggish. The idea of not being alone in my hiding spot doesn't occur to me at all. What I witness, however, drains at the little sanity I have left. Crabs. Massive crabs with thick shells and terrible pincers and bulbous eyeballs growing from their body. There are 3 of them, but with a sheer number of eyes on display, I feel like I'm being stared down by an audience. When I see them, I shriek in terror. These send them scattering towards me. They pinch their claws and their many eyes stare, and I cannot comprehend what I'm witnessing. Unsure of whether I have simply gone mad from withdrawal, or whether I have stumbled upon something which defies known biology, I run out into the rain. I pay no mind to the storm or where I'm going. The only bright burning goal in my skull is to get away from the incomprehensible crabs. Quickly, I lose them in the curtain of rain, yet no matter how many corners I turn through the maze of stone, I still feel like I'm being watched. I duck through caves and struggle through uneven ground, desperately trying to escape that which I cannot comprehend. When my body finally gives up on me and my legs go limp, I end up in a familiar place. Ruffled dark stone stretches out around me into a grassy clearing shielded by outcroppings of rock. Water slides down from the ancient nature and falls to the earth like domed waterfall. Even past the curtain of rain, I can recognize the picture from the lobby. I sprawl out against one of the rock walls and make sure I am alone. The crashing of the water from above is loud enough to make me doubt my hearing, but after a couple of minutes, my heart calms. Past my labored breath and the storm, I hear no crabs. After a couple of more minutes, even my lungs soothe into controlled breaths. The storm above me dies down. The waterfalls which obscure my view of the clearing trickles down into a symphony of dripping rain. After a while longer, even the remnants of the storm disappear. A warm afternoon sun peeks in through the clouds, and a slight hint of a rainbow spreads out beyond. I find myself tranquil. I do not know if it is because I escaped the crabs, or whether it is the passing storm, or whether it is a sense of achievement from reaching my vague goal, but I find myself calming. I sit on the stones and watch the beautiful nature beyond. There is no rush in my chest. I do not feel the ecstasy that I've been so desperately craving since that horrible night back home. Yet even though I'm not shaking with joy, I do find myself free of want. That hole at the center of my being is still there, but no longer hungers. Sitting on the rocks, I find myself content. I find myself happy in the stillness. I sit and I think and I embrace the peace. Time becomes immaterial. My worries still float around the back of my head, but they're weightless. I know that as long as I stay in my little tranquil corner of the globe, my problems will keep their distance. I sit and I breathe and I enjoy the silence. Yet, when I see the sun dip out of sight, I concede that I can't spend the night in the mountains. Before I get up and return to the dredges of my real life, I stretch. I stretch, and it feels good. I feel like my journey had the slightest shred of purpose. Yet, as I lower my arms, I hear something shift behind me. When I turn, I find 100 eyes staring at me from the depths of the cavern. The crabs. The same ones with those shell-grown eyeballs I thought I had hallucinated. They're back. Their glassy stares are laser-focused on me. With every twitch of my body, the horrible creatures advance towards me, snapping their massive pincers with discomforting volume. My moment of tranquility has sobered me. When I realize that the crabs solely respond to my movements, I calm my breath and I steady my hands. With my bones ready to jump out of my skin, I slowly reach into my jacket pockets and I take out my last piece of provisions. With as little motion as I can, I throw the Mars bar to the other side of the clearing. Most of the crab creatures scattered towards the chocolates. When the fastest moving of the consortium starts to snip at the Mars bar with its claws, all but one of the crabs join in. As the majority of the hellish creatures pass me, I hold my breath and grit my teeth. There is but one left. Its shell is flaky with age, and the eyeballs that adorn it are bloodshot. The creature is the slowest of the bunch, yet its attention is singular. Slowly, ever so slowly, it approaches me. Its pincers click with deadly tempo. I reserve hope that maybe the crab creature is simply old and slow to join with the rest of the group. But that hope quickly falters. With every spidery step the beast takes towards me, with every second of unbroken sickly eye contact, I am certain the crab is heading towards me. It's not until the old crustacean is within kicking distance that I act. With one swift movement, I hope to propel the creature towards its brethren. Yet even with its sluggish pincers, the beast manages to grab a hold of my ankle. Blood quickly springs through my jeans, and the rest of the crabs skitter in the direction of motion. I do not waste any time. With pain surging up my leg and terror beating in my heart, I run. I do not know where or how I shake the beast attached to my limb, but I do. I rush out of the cave system and out into the flat steppe. As I run past the trees, the stitches in my side spring up again with renewed strength, but I pay them no attention. My mind is clear of all pain or concern. I have one goal, and that is to get away alive. I run, and my chest heaves and I feel the need to lie down and vomit. Yet I do not. I keep running. Even as my shoe fills with blood and lungs burn with exhaustion, spittle drips from my mouth like the jowls of a rabid horse. I keep running. I keep running, and I don't stop running until the dot on the horizon starts to take the shape into a familiar rehab clinic. It is only once the valley behind me is a mere suggestion and the visions of the crabs descend back into the territory of potential hallucination that I slow down. I slow down, walking the rest of the way back to the detox zone. As I do, a familiar feeling starts to bubble in my abdomen. At first, it simmers like slowly boiling water. Yet the closer I get, the more the waves strengthen. A rush. From the bottom of my stomach to the top of my sternum, floating bubbles of jubilant ecstasy. A biological victory propelled through neurochemistry. My fists tighten and my lips raise in a vicious smile. My body shoots a message across my mind which dulls every other unpleasant sensations I feel.
Good news! You escaped the killer crabs!
And so concludes this episode of the United People's Institute of Science series. Thank you for commenting and liking the video, and a special thank you to the patrons such as Kus, Bob Konderg, CR Iptid, Christopher Barunda, Dante Kincaid, Matthew Trahan, Mr. CreepyPasta, Daniel Wengel, Quiet Pills, Charlie Cooper, Joyce, Paul Evans, Shion, and Hayden Solomos. If you'd like to join these fine folks in supporting the arts and getting early access to content and your name in the credits, mosey on by patreon.com/Mike J. Langer. That's it for me this week. Hope everyone is safe, sane, and healthy out there.